My wife is Canadian, and where we live currently in Mexico, we lived in 6 different countries in the last few years, if you can believe that or not. But where we are many Canadian refugees that have escaped the grasp of His Highness Justin Trudeau, who continued to mandate vaccines and then claimed, gaslighted the entire country that he didn't. His Highness, who decided that anybody who donated to the truckers, as well as the truckers themselves, their bank account was not theirs. Rather, it was the property of the communist government of Canada. So we have people that have been through a form of, let's call it Western trauma, that live here. Thus, I have a place relegated in our house that I call Canadian Conspiracy Corner, where my wife and her Canadian friends are free to discuss, but nowhere else in the house, all of their conspiracy theories, of which there are many. Now, the latest one comes from the Lahaina, Hawaii fires, where it's been rumored in Canadian Conspiracy Corner that it was a directed energy weapon, or DEW for short, that was used to incinerate the homes of these Hawaiians that had refused to sell their property at any price to real estate magnates, to celebrities, etc. And this was their way of getting the property on the cheap. Now, frankly, this does not make a lot of sense to me. It didn't at the time because I don't know who has access to the weapon, who would authorize it, how you would keep that secret. But then you have these confluence of random happenings where the residents don't have access to the water in the fire hydrants, where somebody comes out on TV, previously an Obama acolyte, and says that water is our most precious resource, and therefore there are rumors that he didn't release it. All this seems a little bit too on the nose. And we know now that the directed energy weapon, the pictures that were circulating around on the internet, have been debunked and appear to be a Chilean transformer that blew up with an added laser onto the picture somehow. Regardless of that, we all still have our doubts as to the validity of the sources that are coming out and saying, believe us, because we are telling you the truth. Y'all are conspiracy theorists. Maybe it can be explained away, but the reason that I'm more open to it than before is because they've completely destroyed the trust. In an effort to get Donald Trump out of office, they have completely destroyed the institutions that used to make sense for the public. Now, whether or not the New York Times, the Washington Post, these papers that used to be the gold standard of journalism were ever completely honest is another story, but they were believed to be so. But when you intentionally lie about the Hunter Biden laptop, when you have government and private officials doing so in what is truly a conspiracy to dethrone Donald Trump out of office, intentionally hiding verifiable information that they had from over a year ago, just completely destroying the credibility of the FBI, the mainstream corporate news, all of the ways that they tried to come after Trump. And during COVID, all the lies that were fed in terms of being mandated to take the vaccine that they knew did not stop transmission, and they continued to try to mandate it. This has completely destroyed the public's trust in the institutions. So the reason that so many people are now predisposed to believing these conspiracy theories, and even I might have my doubts, whereas I wouldn't have before because it doesn't pass Occam's razor, which is simply that the simplest explanation usually is correct because there are too many moving parts in all of the conspiracies in order to hide it, in order that it doesn't get released out into public. And you're seeing that even today where you have successfully subpoenaed through a Freedom of Information Act all of the emails between Fauci and Dr. Collins in an effort to subvert the efforts of the Great Barrington Declaration, which simply said that we should protect those who are at risk and allow the rest of us to go on with our daily lives. But they intentionally tried to take this down, and we know this through the subpoena. So it's very difficult to get off with a complete conspiracy. The same thing with the Hunter Biden laptop, which is now coming to light. Of course, this is not being advertised on CNN because they were part of the cover-up. They were part of the conspiracy. So they're not going to tell you that they were wrong or that they lied. Of course not. They're just going to try to keep that hidden from you over and over and over again. But why should we believe them now is the question. Why should I believe it when the New York Times comes out and says, no, 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 there was no directed energy weapon? Okay, a few sources now confirm it. Okay, now you have a photo of it that was from the time when the transformer blew up in Chile. That's fine. But what about all the other questions regarding the water and everything else? And why did the police block the escape routes, allegedly? I don't know the answers to this. And frankly, I am still on the side that this was just a very horrible natural disaster that took place because of the high winds, high temperatures, and the fact that Maui was exceptionally dry, and those winds blew the fire at a very rapid rate. That's what I'm inclined to believe. But when Canadian Conspiracy Corner, they're going off on all their conspiracy theories, I have to listen and say, maybe so, because I don't trust the New York Times. And the same way that they destroyed trust in terms of the medical industry, the medical establishment that used to say, get your children vaccinated. Our first 2 kids are completely vaccinated with everything up to the age that was recommended. Now, we're not so sure. Our new boy is not going to get any new vaccinations because my wife, frankly, doesn't trust them. And I understand why. Because they completely blew their load in terms of propagandizing COVID, in terms of trying to reap the political gains that they sought by scaring the living pants out of everybody over a respiratory disease that would have never taken place in the past. So Canadian Conspiracy Corner is growing as trust in the formerly mainstream news sources is dying. And thus, these people are the ones who destroyed the trust of public institutions for their own personal political and monetary gains in order to sell us a vaccine that doesn't work as advertised, that they knew didn't work as advertised, to hide Hunter Biden's laptop, to demonize Donald Trump. And now they're going after Donald Trump using the power of the Department of Justice and politicizing it against the leading presidential contender and turning us into a banana republic. Thus, more people are siding with Canadian Conspiracy Corner, and me, who before was on the side of the New York Times and other magazines and central news sources that were trusted, am now somewhere in the middle where I'm trying to balance the two in terms of looking at it objectively, looking at what Occam's razor is, and not jumping over to Canadian Conspiracy Corner, but rather to have an open mind and not necessarily believe the formerly trusted establishment institutions. So, just so you know, the problems that we are having in the West are because of greedy people who were politically oriented and used these things to their advantage, and we are now reaping the negative externality of their actions that were done for their own personal gain. And frankly, I believe that this is treasonous. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thumb up the video. Peace.